Hello everyone, what's up? Welcome to the TV News channel. Starmer calls on European leaders to put more economic pressure on Russia. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Young and the Restless recap for Monday, February 23rd reveals that Sally Spectra will suspect Chelsea Lawson has gone back to her manipulative roots. Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles will also find some common ground, so here's what Y&R fans can look forward to. When Noah Newman bumps into Audra at the GCAC, they'll catch up over drinks. Since Audra will be drinking champagne, Noah will realize she must be celebrating some good news. Audra will express how excited she is to finally be employed since she's running a business with her best friend. Noah will be happy for Audra until he realizes she's talking about Spectra Charles, which is what Abbott Communications is being renamed. Noah will rant about Billy Abbott stealing Newman Media so Sally could fold it into Abbott Communications, so he'll insist Audra's fresh start is happening because of an illegally obtained company. After Noah asks how Audra could be okay with that, Kyle Abbott will come along and push her buttons. However, Kyle and Audra will ultimately agree that Victor Newman and Adam Newman deserved what they got. Once Noah storms off, Audra will marvel over it, feeling like she's on the same side with Kyle for once. At the Newman Ranch, Victoria Newman will spell out her plan to get Summer Newman on board with cutting off communication with Phyllis Summers and perhaps banning her from Harrison Abbott. Victoria will hope that if Phyllis loses the people she loves and watches her children align with the Newmans, she'll surrender. Nick won't like the idea of dragging Summer into all this, but Victoria will worry that this nightmare could actually kill Victor. In the end, Nick will convince Victoria to wait until tomorrow for her flight and will hope maybe he can find another solution. There'll also be some talk about Nick's leg since he's still in a lot of pain. Victoria will wonder about Nick's pain med dosage being right since he won't seem like himself. At Crimson Lights, Chelsea will corner Sally and lash out over the Newman Media theft since Sally's keeping it as part of Spectra Charles. Sally will claim it's out of her hands since she has to follow Billy and their investors' directives. There'll also be some talk about Sally's breakup from Billy since he refused to choose her over Chancellor. Chelsea will ultimately shift gears and suggest they have to team up to save Billy from the wrath of the Newmans. Sally will wonder where all this concern was when Chelsea cheated on Billy and won't buy whatever con she's running. When Sally realizes Chelsea's just trying to get Newman Media back, she'll refuse to do Chelsea and Adam any favors. Chelsea will push Sally to make this right or else terrible things might happen. Once Sally asks if that's a threat, Chelsea will insist it's an observation. Sally will point out that Chelsea is acting just like a Newman, so she'll guess Chelsea ended up right where she belongs. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Sally and Chelsea's feud will continue, so stay tuned for any other hostility ahead. The air at the GCAC was buzzing with energy that only comes from big news and new beginnings. Noah Newman's steps echoed lightly across the polished floors as he spotted a familiar face, Audra Charles. Radiant and animated, holding a glass of champagne like it was a trophy. Their eyes met and a warm smile spread across Noah's face as he approached. "Audra, long time no see," he said, and she laughed, the sound ringing like sunlight in the space. They settled at a small table, glasses clinking as they caught up, and it was clear that something had Audra glowing from the inside out. "I finally have something to celebrate," Audra said, her voice practically trembling with excitement. "I'm running a business with my best friend. This is a fresh start." Noah's smile faltered slightly as curiosity got the better of him. "Oh, that's great. But what business exactly?" Audra's eyes sparkled. "It's Spectra Charles. We're bringing back the legacy, but with a fresh twist." The words hit Noah like a splash of cold water. Spectra Charles. That was Abbott Communications under a new banner, carved out from Newman Media. His jaw tightened. "Wait a second. So you're celebrating what? This whole thing is happening because Billy stole Newman Media so Sally could fold it into Abbott Communications. That's illegal, Audra. Audra's excitement flickered as Noah's words sank in, but before she could respond, Kyle Abbott appeared, his presence a mix of charm and provocation. He slid into the conversation like he belonged there, his grin teasing, "Careful, Audra, don't let Noah's righteous indignation get to you." And yet, as the conversation unfolded, a surprising alignment formed. Kyle and Audra found themselves agreeing on something that few would have expected. Victor Newman and Adam Newman deserved every bit of retribution coming their way. Noah, frustrated and incredulous, finally stomped off, leaving Audra alone for a moment to marvel at the strange thrill of standing on the same side as Kyle for once. Meanwhile, tension was thickening at the Newman ranch. Victoria Newman sat with a calculate calm, outlining a plan that was as cold as it was strategic. She wanted Summer Newman on board, steering her away from Phyllis Summers entirely, even going so far as to potentially bar her from seeing Harrison Abbott. Every word Victoria spoke carried a weight that could bend loyalties and break hearts. If Phyllis loses the people she loves, if she watches her children align with us, maybe she'll finally surrender, Victoria mused, her eyes sharp with determination. Nick, however, couldn't mask his unease. "Dragging Summer into this, it feels wrong," he said, worry etched across his face. But Victoria's mind raced ahead, already calculating the consequences. She feared the nightmare they were living through might literally kill Victor. In the end, reason won over urgency. Nick convinced Victoria to delay her flight until tomorrow, hoping for a better solution. Yet, even as plans were put on hold, there was no denying the underlying tension. Nick's leg still throbbed with pain, each step a reminder of vulnerability. And Victoria couldn't help but wonder if the dosage of his pain medication was affecting his judgment or his very self. At Crimson Lights, the atmosphere was more combustible than any champagne toast. Chelsea Lawson cornered Sally Spectra with a kind of intensity that demanded attention. Her voice, sharp and biting, accused Sally of complicity in the theft of Newman Media, now a part of Spectra Charles. Sally tried to deflect, insisting she was merely following Billy's and the investors' directives. She reminded Chelsea of her broken heart, the aftermath of Billy's refusal to choose her over the Chancellor Empire. But Chelsea didn't flinch, her focus had shifted. This wasn't about past betrayals, it was about saving Billy from the wrath of the Newmans. Sally, skeptical and slightly incredulous, couldn't help but ask, where was this concern when you were cheating on Billy? What game are you really playing? The answer was simple, and it cut through the tension like a knife. Chelsea was determined to get Newman Media back. She urged Sally to take action or face consequences too terrible to ignore. Sally's eyes narrowed, recognizing the dangerous edge in Chelsea's tone. "Is that a threat?" she asked, her voice low, wary. Chelsea smiled, a glint of hardened truth in her gaze. "It's an observation," she said. Sally shook her head slowly, realization dawning. Chelsea was acting just like a Newman now. Maybe, she thought, this was exactly where Chelsea belonged, deep in the fray, wielding power, testing loyalties. And yet, the story was far from over. Their feud was alive, simmering with unspoken challenges, bitter history, and the unrelenting pull of Newman influence. The clash of ambition, love, and revenge promised that every next move would be more explosive than the last. As the city lights glimmered outside, alliances shifted like sand beneath their feet. Noah fumed over betrayals. Audra savored her unexpected alliance with Kyle. Victoria maneuvered to protect her family, and Chelsea and Sally stood on opposite sides of a war that was just beginning. Every glance, every word, every action carried the weight of legacy and ambition. In Genoa City, the stakes had never been higher, and Monday's drama promised to ripple through every corner of the Newman Empire and beyond. The tension, the heartbreak, the triumphs and the betrayals. It all built toward one undeniable truth. In The Young and the Restless, no alliance is permanent and no secret stays buried for long. As the night deepened, shadows lengthened over Genoa City and the stakes only grew higher. At the heart of it, Chelsea Lawson and Sally Spectra were standing in a fragile standoff, two women whose lives had been twisted together by ambition, love, and betrayal. But this wasn't just about Newman Media anymore, it was about power, principle, and survival. Chelsea, her eyes blazing with determination, leaned in closer to Sally. You think this is just about money, about a company? No, this is about setting things right before everything we care about comes crashing down. Sally's laugh was sharp, almost bitter. Right, you're talking like a Newman. Funny how the universe works, huh? Seems like you ended up exactly where you belong. But behind that defiance, a flicker of worry betrayed her. She knew that Chelsea's drive wasn't something to be underestimated, and that any misstep could ignite chaos. Meanwhile, at the Newman Ranch, tension twisted tighter around Victoria and Nick. Even as Victoria fought to keep the family united, her mind replayed the stakes in slow motion. Every decision to isolate Phyllis Summers, to manipulate loyalties, felt like walking a tightrope above a canyon. Nick, limping slightly, was a steadying presence, but the pain etched into his features was a constant reminder that their family's foundation was vulnerable. Victoria, I know you want to protect Victor, but dragging Summer into this, it could backfire. Let's just wait. Let's see if there's another way, Nick pleaded, each word heavy with concern. Victoria's eyes softened, but the fire in her gaze remained. Nick, this nightmare has to end, and if it's not tomorrow, it could be too late. Victor, I can't lose him. Outside the polished walls of the ranch, life in Genoa City streets mirrored the tension indoors. Noah Newman, still seething from his encounter with Audra and the implications of Spectre Charles' formation, paced in his office. Every thought spiraled into anger and frustration. How could a fresh start for someone else come at the cost of what was rightfully his family's? The bitterness settled like ice in his veins, leaving no room for compromise. Back at the GCAC, the alliance between Audra and Kyle Abbott continued to deepen in subtle, unexpected ways. They found themselves laughing quietly over shared frustrations, a rare moment of levity amid chaos. For Audra, it was a revelation, standing beside someone not just as an adversary, but as a kindred spirit with a shared sense of justice. For Kyle, it was equally rare, a chance to connect without the heavy weight of family expectations. Yet even amidst these fleeting moments of warmth, the city held its secrets tight. Crimson lights hummed with the tension between Chelsea and Sally, each sip of coffee a silent battle, each glance a calculation. You're going to have to choose, Sally, Chelsea said softly, almost like a warning wrapped in concern. Do you want to stand on the side of right or watch everything burn? Sally's gaze hardened, the fire in her eyes matching Chelsea's. I'm done playing favors for anyone, especially you and Adam. If you want Newman Media back, you're going to have to do it yourself. But even as words were exchanged, the undercurrent of understanding lingered. Both women knew the rules of this world. They'd been burned before, manipulated and betrayed. Every move was a gamble, every alliance temporary. And yet, the tension carried with it a pulse of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, their fates could align before everything collapsed. As dawn began to hint at the edges of the city skyline, the stories of Genoa City intertwined like threads in an intricate tapestry. The Newman Empire quaked with shifting loyalties. Spectra shawls loomed as both opportunity and danger. And old wounds, love lost, trust broken, and vengeance exacted remained raw and unhealed. Noah's frustration, Victoria's strategic calculation, Nick's pain, Audra's newfound camaraderie with Kyle, and Chelsea and Sally's combustible standoff, every plotline converged toward the inevitable that in Genoa City, no victory is simple, no heartache fleeting, and no alliance permanent. Monday's episodes promised more than drama, they promised a reminder that in The Young and the Restless, the city itself seems to breathe tension and betrayal, love and ambition into the very lives of its residents. Every whispered plan, every angry confrontation, every spark of hope or rage set the stage for what could only be described as a perfect storm, one that would engulf everyone who dared play the game of power, love and legacy in Genoa City. And as the camera would pan out across the city, the twinkling lights of the skyline catching the first rays of morning, one truth remained undeniable. For every victory there's a cost, and for every betrayal there's a reckoning. In Genoa City, no one is ever truly safe, and every choice ripples with consequences that can change everything. The morning light stretched over Genoa City, soft and deceptive, as if the calm could somehow mask the storm brewing within every corner of the city. Yet no amount of sunlight could hide the tension simmering between those who held power and those who craved it. At the GCRC, Audra Charles leaned back in her chair, swirling the champagne that had once been a celebration but now felt more like a challenge. Kyle Abbott sat across from her, fingers tapping lightly against his glass, his expression unreadable yet calculating. "You know," Audra said quietly, almost to herself, "it's strange, standing here actually feeling like I have a choice. Like I'm on the same side as someone I used to not trust." Kyle raised an eyebrow, a small knowing smile tugging at his lips. "Welcome to the rarefied air of truth, Audra. Sometimes the people you least expect to align with are the ones you need." The two shared a moment of silence, a fleeting peace in the chaos of betrayal, stolen companies and old rivalries. But even as they savored the calm, the undercurrent of danger was impossible to ignore. Spectra Charles wasn't just a new venture, it was a challenge to the Newman Empire, a spark that could ignite fires nobody was prepared for. Meanwhile, at the Newman Ranch, Victoria Newman's resolve was rock solid, but worry gnawed at her. Every detail of her plan to isolate Phyllis Summers, to bend Summer Newman to her side, weighed heavily. She imagined the look on Phyllis's face if she lost the children she adored, the realization that her influence was slipping. Nick Newman, though still limping from his injury, remained steadfast at her side. "Victoria, maybe we don't need to put Summer yet. Maybe we wait for a better moment," he suggested. His concern, more than just strategy, it was genuine fear for the well-being of everyone involved. Victoria's gaze softened, just briefly as she nodded. "I want to believe that, Nick. I really do. But this nightmare, if it continues, could destroy Victor. And if that happens, there's no going back." Nick's hand brushed against hers, a silent reassurance. Even in the face of machinations and power plays, family mattered, hearts mattered, but in Genoa City, even love could be weaponized. And then there was Chelsea Lawson, whose fire seemed unstoppable. She paced inside crimson lights, eyes sharp as knives, her mind replaying the encounter with Sally Spectra. She wasn't just fighting for a company, she was fighting for justice, for balance, for a chance to make things right in a world that had been anything but fair. Sally's defiance still lingered in her mind, a challenge thrown with a mixture of sarcasm and bravado. "You ended up right where you belong," Sally had said, but Chelsea knew that beneath the sharpness there was recognition, a begrudging understanding that power couldn't be ignored. "You can't sit on the sidelines, Sally," Chelsea said again, almost under her breath. "Not when so much is at stake. Not when we're talking about people's lives, legacies, futures." Every word was deliberate, measured, a combination of urgency and strategy. Chelsea had learned that in Genoa City, timing was everything and hesitation could be fatal. Across the city, Noah Newman was a storm contained in human form. His office, normally a space of controlled chaos, now felt like a pressure cooker. Every thought of Spectra Charles, of Billy's betrayal, and of what had been stolen from his family pressed down on him. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration and disbelief etched into every line of his face. How can they celebrate this after everything, he muttered, pacing again. Audra, Spectre Charles, it's all built on theft. Illegally obtained wealth, and somehow everyone acts like it's normal. Noah's righteous fury was palpable, a man pushed to the edge by betrayal and the relentless march of ambition. His anger wasn't just about business, it was personal. It was about respect, loyalty, and the principle that you didn't take from family even in a city as morally complicated as Genoa City. The tension between Chelsea and Sally, Noah's simmering rage, Audra and Kyle's unexpected alliance, and Victoria and Nick's moral and strategic dilemmas, all threads of a story stretching toward a climax, converging in unpredictable ways. And then a quiet but unnerving moment. Sally, left alone at Crimson Lights after Chelsea stormed out, sat at the bar and stared into her coffee. The city outside moved on obliviously, but inside every decision weighed heavily. She knew alliances were fragile, loyalties were fluid, and any move she made could tilt the balance between power and ruin. You play the game, Sally, she whispered to herself, or it plays you. Across the skyline, the sun had fully risen, casting light on a city brimming with secrets, deception, ambition, and hope. Monday's drama in Genoa City was far from over. Every conversation, every betrayal, every strategic move hinted at storms yet to come, storms that would reshape families, friendships, and power structures. Audra and Kyle might find common ground today, but tomorrow could turn that alliance into conflict. Chelsea's pursuit of justice might save a company or destroy friendships. Victoria's careful maneuvers might protect her family or push them further into danger. And Noah's simmering anger could ignite a chain reaction nobody was ready for. In The Young and the Restless, nothing is ever simple and every heartbeat counts. Every choice ripples through lives with consequences that are as immediate as they are devastating. One thing is certain, the residents of Genoa City are on a collision course with fate, and Monday's events are just the opening act of a drama that promises heartbreak, triumph, betrayal, and perhaps unexpected redemption. The city waits tense and expectant. And so do we, because in Genoa City, the next move can change everything.